This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some important updates to share with you. The railroad strike could cause more damage to the economy. I'll let you know the latest of what's going on with that. And with inflation hurting millions of Americans, what is being done as millions need desperate relief right now? I'm going to give you the Democrat and the Republican perspective in video clips of what each party plans on doing about inflation. Also, we'll go over the latest stimulus check articles like what is going on in California and when those stimulus checks are going out, and a $1,000 check deadline is today, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Thursday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. So a rail strike would do serious damage, and that's exactly the point. So if you haven't been following this could cause a lot more problems than we think. If we thought supply chains were bad before, and some are saying that was actually the cause of inflation right now, the rail strike could cause more of that. Take a look at this video clip right here, given the latest update on what's going on.
President Biden saying a tentative railway labor agreement has been reached. I want to get to Elon Roy, who joins us with the latest from D.C. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Angie. We have now heard from both the White House and industry that a deal has indeed been reached and a strike averted ahead of tonight's midnight deadline. Now, President Biden called this a victory for workers who will get better pay and improved working conditions, and for the rail companies, since they'll be able to recruit and retain more employees. In a statement, President Biden thanked the unions and the rail companies for negotiating in good faith, and he said the hard work done to reach this tentative agreement means that our economy can avert the significant damage any shutdown would have brought. Labor Secretary Marty Walsh, who's been spearheading these talks, also tweeted this morning that the deal balances the needs of workers, businesses, and our nation's economy. Now, the Association of American Railroads said that these new contracts would give employees a total of a 24% wage increase from between 2020 to 2024, and an immediate payout that averages $11,000. Now, this deal would cover about 60,000 workers, but it does still need to be ratified by the unions. Now, the statements this morning do not address the issue of sick leave. Democratic lawmakers had said that was one of the major sticking points in these talks. Workers have been asking for 15 days of dedicated paid sick time. A source told NBC News that these negotiations could still go on for several weeks as union workers actually ratify the contracts. NBC News also reporting that President Biden got personally involved in these talks by placing a 9 p.m. phone call to the Labor Secretary and the negotiators in order to try to work through this logjam. Publicly, President Biden is saying that he's hoping this agreement gives workers some hard-earned peace of mind. Back over to you guys.
So what are your thoughts on that? Should the rail, should there be union, no union? Should they get better pay, better working conditions? Let me know your thoughts on that. Inflation uptick comes at a bad time for Biden. So referring to what happened at the party that happened at the White House, just as inflation news came out saying that it was worse. Not sure if they planned that around the same time, or they planned it for inflation number to be lower and then the celebration. Either way, it didn't really come across too well. But here is Pramila Jayapal talking more about inflation and what the Democrats plan on doing about it.
The House of Representatives is back in session now following its August recess. On the agenda right away for lawmakers, avoid a government shutdown at the end of this month. Joining us now, chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and senior whip of the Democratic Caucus, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington State. It's great to have you on. I'm curious what the goals are, what the progressives' goals are in the coming months and how they correlate with the midterm messaging.
Mika, it's great to be with you, and it's good to be back in session and to have just attended the celebration ceremony for the Inflation Reduction Act and to really see how much we've gotten done. Now, in terms of what we have left to do, we have these appropriations bills that we need to pass in order to make sure that we continue to fund the government. That deadline is September 30th, and we're at work on that. It'll probably be a continuing resolution to continue to fund the government. I also think there are a couple of bills, like, for example, the Social Security Act 2100, that would be a very good bill for us to pass. This is something that is incredibly popular across the country, and this bill really makes some critical improvements to Social Security, and it contrasts us with the Republicans who we know through Rick Scott and others want to strip away Social Security. We also hope that the Senate is going to pass the marriage equality bill. I think that is a really critical bill to be able to put Republicans on the record and hopefully to be able to pass with at least 10 Republicans. So those are some of the things on the plate. For the midterm elections, we have a couple of messages. Number one, Mika, we have to tell people how much Democrats have done, how we've brought down unemployment tremendously to the lowest point in the last 50 years, the way in which we've created jobs, the way in which we've brought manufacturing back to the United States with the CHIPS Act, of course, reducing hunger through the American Rescue Plan. Some of that ARP money, by the way, is still funding states for child care and other things. And then most recently, the biggest investment in climate and, of course, protecting our freedoms. Women are furious across the country about the Dobbs decision. It is turning women out in droves. And those things together, I think, are going to be the winning formula for the midterms.
Yeah, I think Lindsey Graham actually might have helped Democrats yesterday with what he said. A lot of wins, obviously, to brag on in the lead up to the elections, the midterms elections. But I'm wondering if Democrats need to be careful about taking the credit for reducing inflation, for doing whatever the Inflation Reduction Act claims it will do for the economy, including reduce inflation. Can you explain how it will do that? And do you think it is something Democrats need to be careful about, given how hot the economy is right now? Even yesterday, President Biden coming out and celebrating his legislation, and the stock market is plummeting.
I think we have to be careful about not saying everything's hunky-dory rosy and, people are doing great, because we know that families across the country are still struggling with rising costs. We know that gas prices are down. I think that is a really important thing as we go into the midterms. And we know that we have gotten more money in people's pockets, and that through the Inflation Reduction Act, there will be a savings, substantial savings on health care, on prescription drugs, on capping of out-of-pocket costs. These are all things that Americans will feel. They may not feel them in the next month, though. And so that's the thing I think we have to be careful about, is saying, look, we have invested in the future. You will see these benefits. And we want to tell you what they are. We've never before, Mika, you know this, you've covered the Hill for a long time. We've never been able to get Medicare to negotiate drug prices. And finally, for the first time, we got our foot in the door. And I think we need to make sure Americans know about that, but also understand that we're not free and clear. We're still working to get everything, to get even more done.
What are your thoughts on that? Good plan, bad plan? Do you agree, disagree? So moving on, stimulus update. As inflation ticks upward in August, consumers remain desperate for relief. It's really hard to think how inflation, food prices, everything is going up so much, but there's no relief to Americans who are struggling the most. Big, big struggles. I mean, you can see it in the comment section of my video. It's so many people are struggling really bad right now and need desperate relief. What is going on? Well, not enough. There's no federal level of stimulus. Like, for example, latest article here, California. What to know about inflation relief payments in California? So there is payments going out in October ranging from $200 to $1,050. So I'll give you the dates here. So direct deposits between October 7th and October 25th electronically, and then remaining taxpayers will receive deposits sometime between October 28th and 24th for the $200 to $1,050 checks there. And then today's a deadline, stimulus update. Deadline for $1,000 one-time direct check payment is tomorrow. It's actually today, September 15th. So, so this is for Maryland residents seeking to file a claim of up to $1,000 in student loan debt relief tax credits. They have until Thursday to submit paperwork before the state closes the application portal. So today, if you live in Maryland and you have student loan, or if you have student loans, apply through the portal today. Today is the deadline if you live in Maryland with student loans. And what is the Republican perspective here on inflation and what they plan on doing about it? So Republicans have spent the year attacking Democrats on inflation. Some conservatives worry that won't be enough to win November. What are the Republicans doing about it? Well, take a look at the Republican perspective right here.
So how on God's green earth did we get ourselves into this mess? And more importantly, how do we get out? Here with me now, he's got some answers. Kansas Republican Senator. So many K-states, so little time. The great state of Kansas. He is on the Senate Agriculture and Energy Committees. Roger Marshall joins me now. Good evening, Senator. How are you?
Kennedy, I'm doing great. It's great to be on with you, and we just appreciate you make us smile every once in a while. So we appreciate your show.
Well, there are a lot of absurdities to point out. It's really unbelievable that the White House has such a poor grasp on this issue. I want to know from you, sitting on agriculture and energy, did you ever think that you would see the kind of intersection that you're seeing now?
Well, Kennedy, you know, yesterday the White House is celebrating some victory. They're tone deaf. Meanwhile, we got the worst economic news of my professional lifetime. We have grocery prices up 13%. Gasoline is up $1.50 compared to when Joe Biden was sworn into office. And beyond that, there seems to be no end in sight, right? So it is certainly a challenge. This is the #1 concern for Kansans back home. No, I never thought we would see this end in sight. And he's doubling down on his energy policies. He's killing American energy and American agriculture.
Yeah, and telling people it's all in their heads, all at the same time. His press secretary, pretty rich of her to say, hey, this is actually great news. The president has saved us from a global economic meltdown. But there are a lot of bad things to come if inflation keeps going in the direction it's been in. It is not transitory. And now we are going to see jobs and housing affected with these massive rate hikes. What are you expecting to see from the Fed?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, there certainly is going to be 75 basis point. It could be 100 basis point. But at the same time, they're also doing this quantitative tightening. Don't underestimate that impact, this double barrel of the interest rates going up and the quantitative tightening going on as well. We've been doing quantitative easing since Barack Obama. So this is all these chickens are coming home to roost now, and I'm afraid it's going to be a little bit of a hard landing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I don't have a lot of confidence that Jerome Powell, you know, he's the one who called inflation transitory. Unfortunately, those words have come back to bite him, but we are feeling the pain of that bite. We're the ones who are paying for it because of this irresponsible monetary policy that we've been held hostage by for so many administrations now. At what point do we reach the point of no return? At what point has the Fed completely lost control of their avenue in the economy?
Well, Kenny, that's a lot to unpack there, but we have a November election. Somehow we got to limp along until we get there. But Americans need to realize this inflation's not going away because Joe Biden's not changing any of his policies. He's continuing to make it hard to obtain American energy, to obtain natural gas, to obtain oil. He's making it hard for refineries to do their job as well. So there's no end in sight. He's making it hard for farmers to produce as well. Fertilizer prices have quadrupled. Getting our products to market becoming harder every day because he shut off the labor supply. And you mentioned this critical situation with our railroads right now. And Joe Biden's not helping that either.
All right. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
This is I'm gonna live it. Oh, never mind, sorry. This is the tip of the day. I'm gonna tell you one thing what you can feel. If you really want something, then be a survivor with some juice. Just kidding. Be a survivor and do whatever you want, because that when someone's here for you, you can always use some help. Anyways, bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your support. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day. If you appreciate how I get straight to the point and give you the facts, the video clips, and all of that, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And if you want to check out any of my other videos on my other channels, click right up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.